No Foot Too Small is based over in Iowa City, and it's a nonprofit that is focused on three missions. One, celebrating angels. Second, uniting families and building birthing and bereavement suites for families that experience a pregnancy infant loss of all levels.
Katie, could you share your personal journey that led you to this organization?
In December of 2019, my husband and I were expecting our third child. And like any mother that's gone through pregnancy that has had healthy pregnancies, I thought this would be no different. Only to find out that our child, our daughter, actually had a rare chromosomal diagnosis called trisomy 18. And trisomy 18 is considered not life compatible because everything gets developed incorrectly. For example, her heart was developed flip side on the right side of her body, severe spina bifida, intestines outside the body, misshaped skulls for brain development. I mean, it's a really heavy diagnosis, hence the not compatible with life. And we met her on December 22nd, and so she got her angel wings. And from that point, I needed a community. I wanted a place to share her story and just talk and laugh and cry. And that is how I came across No Foot Too Small. However, when I found No Foot Too Small, it was at the beginning of COVID, which was a very unique time. And they went and did a lot of virtual reach, which worked out well for me being over in Sioux City. And as COVID started to settle down and come to an end, I knew I wanted to bring this to Sioux City, as we have incredible number of nonprofits and support outlets out there. There wasn't one that focused on the loss side of pregnancy and struggles that women have, or maybe a late loss like a stillborn or SIDS. There's a lot of different losses when it comes to pregnancy and infant loss, and No Foot Too Small does a beautiful job of bringing all those stories to the table.
And Katie, this is something that impacts more women than you might expect.
Yes, it's 1 in 4 pregnancies, and keep in mind, pregnancies, not people, which I always want to share and remind people that it's surreal where, oftentimes women will go through a couple pregnancies. Well, there's a high probability that everybody will experience a loss at one point or another in their lifetime. There's a lot of reasons, and sometimes it's out of our control. Sometimes it might be the genetic makeup of, the men and women coming to the table to have a child. There's a lot of different reasonings, and maybe it's environmental issues.
And I think a lot of people may not know about it because people don't talk about it, and they suffer internally instead of sharing it with others, how they're feeling.
Oh, completely. I understand why that unwritten rules to wait till you're out of the first trimester to share, because a lot of things can happen. And yes, generationally, our mothers, our grandmothers, everybody, they would go through a loss and they wouldn't share it. But nowadays, I don't care who you are, when you take that pregnancy test and you see a positive sign, there might be a roller coaster of every sort of emotion, but as you start to realize and get excited, like there's a baby growing inside you, and why can't we share this from the mountaintops? And then if and when something does catastrophically happen, you then have a support group to back you on it. But no, our society doesn't want to share until after the first trimester. And so yes, these women go through loss and they don't know how to then share it with people because, oh, by the way, I was expecting, but I didn't share it with you. And that part always breaks my heart, because we as human want to celebrate and share and have that community of support, but this is just that unique taboo topic, and it shouldn't be. And you mentioned grief. I mean, women, we take to heart that, it was our fault, and it wasn't. It absolutely was not. But yet, when you don't have that support group to share, then those thoughts continue to sit in your head and fester. What if I never get pregnant? What if I don't make, my significant other a parent? It's just really heartbreaking. And then you also add, to the side of families that are struggling to get pregnant, and they go through IVF and other procedures, and they have struggles even through that. That's not only just heartbreaking, but also financially, a struggle. There's definitely room for no foot too small to exist in the world. And it's truly an honor and a privilege to bring it to Siouxland, where a place that is so welcoming and warm to support such situations. It's unique situations that you never wish upon your worst enemy. But for me, I also want to share to help bring realization that these things happen, to also help people learn how to talk to someone who's gone through a loss. There's a lot of things that people say that they mean well, but like, oh, don't say that. Oh, don't say that, because it's not what somebody wants to hear. Like, in the moment of things happen for a reason. Well, yeah, they do. I am a firm believer, and that is why I have a daughter in heaven where I do have 3 living boys. I do feel that this is my way of honoring my daughter, is through No Foot Too Small. So things do happen for a reason. I'm doing great with it, but in that moment, don't tell me things happen for a reason. I want my child back in my belly living. I want, to feel the kicks. I want to see her grow up and giggle. But unless we share and talk and educate, people don't know how to bring empathy to the table, and they just end up doing sympathy, and sympathy can sometimes backfire.
What are some other things, too, that you would tell people maybe not to say in this kind of situation?
God's plan, that's another one. Don't say, and I get it. It comes from a place of good, but it's just not something. Also, oh, but you already have living children. Yes, you're right, but I don't care the rest of my life. I will always wonder about my daughter. I will always, when I take family photos, think that there should be a little girl with bows and a tutu in the picture somewhere. So, and I also don't want my 3rd son, who came after Elizabeth, to feel unwanted or unloved, because if Elizabeth lived, he wouldn't be here. So even the term rainbow baby, rainbow baby is a term that a lot of people say and use, the rainbow after the storm. And I absolutely understand the reference, and it is a beautiful reference. But I'm more cautious of having a boy after a girl loss. I just don't want him to be raised under a shadow of any sort.
And you have an event that's coming up this weekend to help people, and the whole community is invited. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. October is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, and October 15th is National Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. And how a lot of families celebrate is at 7 o'clock, your local time, you are encouraged to light a candle and then blow it out at 8 o'clock, creating that progressive wave of light in remembrance of your angel. No Foot Too Small and myself, thanks to Siouxland Women's Health, is bringing this event to Miracle Field in person, and we will be reading all the angels that are there that night, lighting a battery-operated candle, and just showing that community support. And I will say it is so beautiful seeing Miracle Field lit up with candlelight, and just to see the power of support, but also the power that you're not alone, and that a lot of families do go through this.